Yeah, new guys coming to you live. You could bet this like Jerome. New guys are men of steel. Best coverage in the league. Prime Reavers on the field. Don't know, better ask G-Nick, the hype is real. Gurus with the knowledge, you can check the mass appeal. They gon' turn your fantasies into dollar bills, making dynasties from drafts like the Spurs when they build. Want the bragging rights and titles at your work. Let the new guys serve the wisdom to you first. I ain't advertising, just kicking facts. They turn average Joes to Drakes cause they winning back to backs. So sit back, relax, all ears when they speak, and rain on competition with anything they leak. Make leagues joy gray like Ramsey did Reek. Passing off the mic, I'm out here, peace.
Howdy everyone, welcome back. It's been quite some time since we've done this, but we had a free moment before Thursday Night Football, and we also have a guest appearance. For those of you that have seen some of our special editions, you already know Brett, aka Gurtis.
Evening, everyone.
And as always, Nick and I are here. So we are going to talk some football. Nick, how is it down south?
It's going good. Still around 90 degrees here. How about back home?
Rainy and miserable.
Yes, sir.
So, a lot has happened, and I feel like, given we're in New York, and that was the hottest topic of last week, we should probably start with Daniel Jones.
Danny Dobbs.
Gurtis is a big Giants fan as well, so I will turn to you and ask your impression and what you expect going forward.
I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. He was great. He gave the whole offense, really the whole team, a spark. Even on defense, like you just saw people making plays that they weren't making plays before. I think he's actually underrated with, he's got that Eli quiet confidence. He's not the rah-rah guy, but he's mobile, which we haven't had in years, and that adds a whole nother dimension to this offense because I saw so many plays where he escaped pressure, kept his eyes downfield, found a receiver, and that's what we need because Eli, I love Eli. He won his 2 Super Bowls, but it was time. And he, like I said, he adds a whole nother dimension. He was accurate. He kept his eyes downfield. He's picking up the NFL very quickly. Only concern is the fumbles. While he's looking downfield, he needs to have that sixth sense where he feels the pressure and he tucks the ball away. That's my only criticism. But he looked great. He looked great. But I want to see more. Obviously,
Yeah.
Only 1 week.
Agreed, and all of those knocks about his arm strength, I think it looks like he's got plenty of arm, and he's pretty accurate with the deep ball as far as I can tell, but like you said, it's only been 1 week. But he's athletic to the point where there were designed runs for him. Like, those weren't just scrambling when a play broke down. Those were designed runs for Daniel Jones. So I was very impressed, but it's still early. Tampa doesn't have the best defense, and to be quite frank, neither does Washington this week. So it might be a few weeks till we know what we have. Nick, are we being biased? Give us your opinion here.
No, I think the mobility with the legs is the biggest difference maker because that's something the Giants haven't had in a quarterback ever, maybe. I don't know.
15
Eli never was that bad.
15
And that just adds another element that the defense has to watch out for because, they might have to keep a spy next week. That was one of their linebackers or something. They can't just clear out the middle. Like, they might have to keep someone there to prevent that from happening. So I think that just opens up the entire playbook also.
It'll be exciting to see. Despite the 1-2 record, there's a lot of hope and a lot of buzz generating around the New York Football Giants.
If only he had a running back.
Yeah.
Unfortunate about Barkley, but
4 to 8 weeks is a pretty wide range. Like, we really can't begin to speculate how long he'll actually be out. But
no surgery, though.
No surgery, which is nice. So we'll see. Wayne Gallman will step in. The Giants haven't signed anyone, so maybe they'll revisit that if we can't get the running game going this week.
To be continued.
But at least for this week, it looks like it's Eli Penny, is that his name, the fullback? And Wayne Gallman. So
So you brought our rookie Hillman up from the practice squad.
Yep.
We'll get a look at him, see what he can do.
He didn't do much in college, though.
No, but you know what? The offensive line is much improved, and
True.
that's something I'm looking forward to.
True. All right, so Nick, tell us about Jacoby Brissett.
One word: stud. Complete stud. I'll admit, it'll never be like watching Andrew Luck. You guys know he was my favorite athlete, really, ever, honestly. But man, do you know how hard it is for a player to come in and step in for Andrew Luck? And it's been seamless. He hasn't missed a beat. This week, he started off the game with 16 straight completions. It was against the Falcons, so take that with a grain of salt. But man, he's doing everything. And honestly, the MVP of our team this season has been Frank Reich. He's strategically game planned every single thing around Jacoby's strengths, and it's done wonders, man. We should be 3-0 if Vinatieri could hit an extra point in week 1, but I'm not tweaking. I'm very happy with where this team's going.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Vinatieri. Do you think he's going to be retiring this year?
I don't know. It's still early. I mean, he went 5 for 5 this week, so we'll have to see. Obviously, I wasn't his biggest fan after the first 2 weeks, but he's been doing this for 25 years, so I think he'll get it together in the long run.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd say a Hall of Fame kicker.
I just want to say I absolutely agree with you on Frank Wright because he's doing a tremendous job. He's playing to Jacoby Brissett's strengths. He's tailored the offense around him. You guys have an amazing offensive line. Andrew Luck is probably like, where the hell was that for the past 5-6 years? Because he got destroyed, which is why he's retired now. But they got the whole offense clicking. They got a solid run game. They got weapons all over and pretty good defense too. So I think you guys are definitely heading in the right directions. People are ready to bury you, but you still a lot of hope in Indy. So
A 2-1 start at home against Oakland this week. So I don't know about you guys. I see that as a win for the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could be 3-1 after this week, easy.
I guess we should probably touch on some of the disappointments so far this year, and again, us being in New York, sorry Jets fans, Sam Darnold is suffering from mono.
Tisk tisk.
Yeah, he shouldn't be all promiscuous like that. What do you guys expect from the Jets? Let's say he comes back after the bye week. He comes back next week, week 5.
They have a brutal schedule, to be honest. I think they're gonna struggle. I've said it before. I'm not even trying to be like a bitter Giants fan. I think they could legitimately go 0-5, 0-6 because of that rough schedule. And Falk actually looked pretty good the first game. He looked like he had some chemistry with Robbie Anderson. Not so much against New England. Also, going up against Belichick, you have to factor that in.
And a much better defense.
But yeah, I think you're gonna see a lot of Le'Veon Bell being run into the ground, and probably not much else until they can get that solid quarterback in there.
You agree, Nick?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with everything Gurtis said. I don't know. It's a tough, even with Darnold, I saw them getting 1 win out of the first 6 or maybe 2, but yeah, I can see them starting off 0-5 or 0-6, and when he comes back, what are they saying, week 7, 8, something like that?
They said up until 7 or 8, but as early as after the bye. So it depends on, I guess, how quickly he recovers. I don't know. I've never had mono.
Okay. Yeah, if I recall, I think their schedule does get a lot easier towards the second half. I think they have one of the easier ones. So I could still see them going 7-9, 8-8, something like that.
You're crazy.
We'll just have to see how he plays. Jets fans are treating him like he's a king already. He hasn't done anything. He had a couple good games last year that they lost in, but we'll still have to see how he does when he gets back.
He showed significant improvement towards the end of last year, but like you guys said, tough schedule. He's missing valuable reps and, more importantly, games right now. So if he comes back this week and they could squeak out a win over the next couple of weeks, maybe they stay in the hunt, but it's starting to look like a lost year.
Yeah,
It's starting
O-line
to feel
is-
like a lost year too.
Yeah, O-line is suspect also, and I think that plays a big part of it because, maybe you can get by, with your situation, you have Brissett, a functional, he might be a backup, but he's a really good backup, and, the offense is tailored around him. The Jets don't have that. They have, let's just hope Le'Veon Bell can save us, and hopefully the defense can, make some turnovers, but throwing up some Hail Marys over there.
Yeah, that's basically it.
So I want to move on to some surprises this year that we've witnessed, and I'd say probably most notably because of how difficult the NFC North is would be Detroit. Detroit is actually unbeaten. They tied the Cardinals week 1. Granted, they had a significant lead and blew it, so they should have beaten Arizona, but they tied the Cardinals week 1, and then they've beaten the Chargers and Philadelphia, who both teams are sort of spiraling right now, but both of them had playoff, if not Super Bowl aspirations. So I've been pretty impressed by Detroit. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's 2 big wins right there, honestly. I mean, before the season, people were saying the Chargers and Eagles probably had the 2 best rosters in the league, honestly. So that's definitely big for a franchise that people really thought was going anywhere this year. They do go into Kansas City this week, though, so that unbeaten streak will end. But still, I think they all would have taken 1 loss after 4 games in Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a surprise to be sure. I think you got to give Matt Patricia a lot of credit. He's known, he's off that Belichick tree, so you expect him, to get that defense improved, and he has. The defense, I know they gave up that big lead in the first game, but I think over the last couple of weeks, their defense has been pretty solid. I think Darius Slay is one of the most underrated corners in the league. And Stafford's actually surprising me a little bit. He's moving the ball, not what he once was, but they're functional.
Year 2 under Patricia, you could definitely see the changes and the improvement from last year. And I think the addition of T.J. Hawkinson and getting Marvin Jones back this year really opens up the field a bit, which helps Stafford. Think of how many seasons he has under his belt targeting Golden Tate, who's no longer there, and Marvin Jones, who missed the second half of last year but is now back. So I think he's more comfortable in the offense, has the better defense, like you guys mentioned. And yeah, they're off to a pretty hot start. Another surprise, not a positive one, is the Cleveland Browns, who were probably the most hyped and overrated team entering the season, and now the only team they've beaten is a Darnold-less Jets. I mean, they lost to the Rams, who were in the Super Bowl last year, and they got demolished by the Titans week 1, which I'm just going to chalk that up to a lost game. You can't really take much away from that. But Cleveland looks a bit lost. Their O-line is in shambles. They have all these weapons, but Darnold isn't reading more than his first look. He hasn't really done anything.
Me, Mayfield?
Mayfield, yes. Mayfield. Sorry about
Quick
that.
correction.
Yes. Mayfield hasn't been making his reads. He hasn't been running. I mean, he's not the most mobile, right? But that offense just hasn't looked good in general. So do you guys think they turn it around, or?
I think they have a tough road for. This is kind of what I expected. I mean, I didn't expect the loss to Tennessee at home. That was insane. I thought they would struggle a bit, but the thing that disappoints me, and I think for all the disappointing teams, the Browns, the Eagles, the Falcons, the problem is that it's not talent, because they all have talent. The problem is they're so undisciplined. They set a record for penalties in the first game. That was insane. Last game they had 3 pre-snap penalties in a row. I didn't like the play calling. I know a lot's been made about that. The play calling down the stretch. Baker seems to, it's still early. Obviously, he's still plenty of time to pick it up, but he seems like he's regressed a little bit. I think he's pressing. He's thinking too much, and he's just not seeing the field well enough because they're loaded.
Yeah, it should be an offense that's not quite on pace with the Chiefs, but one of the better offenses in the league with Jarvis Landry. Although they did just lose Njoku to IR, but
They look undisciplined.
They look undisciplined, and I think a lot of that is most teams didn't play their starters at all in the preseason. The preseason serves a purpose. Yes, they got to week 1 healthy, but that right there, those are reps that the line can use to gel, that the quarterback can develop that chemistry with his receivers. Like, those are valuable reps that most of the teams in the NFL chose to not take advantage of, in my opinion.
Agreed.
But even if they turn it around, it doesn't get much easier at Baltimore, at the 49ers, who are also undefeated.
All of a sudden,
I guess we'll migrate over to them next. Home against the Seahawks, and then at the Patriots. So that it doesn't ease up for Cleveland at all, or at least not over the next month.
Only towards the second half. But yeah, it's a brutal schedule to start.
So Nick, tell us about San Fran and Jimmy G.
Yeah, they look good so far. I think that defense is for real. I think they're ranked as the number 2 D right now. Jimmy G hasn't shown me much yet, but he's coming off an injury, so he's just getting back in the swing of things. But that D line has a lot of talent. They got Buckner, they got Bosa, who's the other guy? Solomon Thomas, Armstead. These are all first-round picks that they've invested in the last 5 years. So it is expected. I think Kyle Shanahan's a great coach. That was evident because he got Matt Ryan an MVP, and that says enough. So I do like the way that San Fran is going, but they got a good division, man. It's tough with Seattle and the Rams in your division. So we'll have to see once they start playing more competitive teams. But I have been impressed with them so far.
Yeah, I'd have to agree that defense is finally paying off. They've, like you said, they've invested on the D line especially. They signed guys like Richard Sherman in the secondary. The defense is for real. Question is, what does Jimmy G have? Like, is he your franchise quarterback? Because at the end of the day, like every other NFL team, it's how far can your quarterback take you? So we'll see how that develops.
I agree, but he has one of the elite tight ends in the league. Shanahan's great at incorporating his running backs. Really, what I've gathered over the last few years is it almost doesn't matter who they decide to give the ball to. They tend to be productive with it, and they're getting Tevin Coleman back relatively soon. So even if Jimmy G isn't an elite quarterback, he appears to be serviceable. And like you guys said, they have the defense, they have the weapons around him. I don't think they're going to win the division. The Rams are one of the top 3 teams in the league, but a wild card spot,
got Seattle there.
Definitely possible. Definitely possible, especially because they're 3-0 right now. They're off to a great start, and they're relatively healthy.
Yeah, they're going to be a wild card contender for sure.
So I will open this up to you guys. Do you want to switch over to some of the other young quarterbacks?
What do we got left?
We could talk about Bridgewater taking over. I guess he's not young, but taking over for the Saints. We could talk about Kyle Allen for the Panthers.
Yeah, we could jump into those guys.
I know you love your boy Minshew. We can always talk about him.
I was saving the best for last.
Man's a cult hero, apparently.
I was saving the goat Minshew for last. All right, so let's start with Bridgewater. We'll go age before beauty, if you will. He really didn't look that great last week, I thought. I mean, he's no Drew Brees, but
that's the thing. I don't think they need him to be Drew Brees. I think Teddy Bridgewater is a more than serviceable quarterback. Kind of like Brissett. Kind of reminds you of the similar situation. They're not superstars. They're not elite quarterbacks, but they're guys that can
make the smart play.
Yeah, they can right the ship. They can make sure that your team stays in the hunt. And he's got the weapons around him. He's got Alvin Kamara. He's got Michael Thomas. Pass defense isn't amazing, but they have a solid run defense. So Saints, they're definitely not dead in the water like people thought they were.
Yeah, it's also tough to go into Seattle for your first start in years. So
True.
So I'll definitely need a few more weeks to watch him play.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, and it helps they have a lot of home games over the stretch that Breeze is going to miss. The schedule is sort of up and down. Home against Dallas, home against the Bucks, at Jacksonville, which is a very tough environment. At Chicago, same deal there. Home to the Cardinals and home to the Falcons. So 500 might be a stretch there, but if he can win 2 of those games, that's enough for when Breeze comes back to make the playoff push, I think. But it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy for them to take the division, even though they do have a lead over the rest of the division by a game at the moment.
Luckily, the rest of the division isn't playing too well, so I think that gives them a
Yeah,
leg
it's
up.
not looking too hot.
Yeah, Atlanta has been struggling a lot, but Carolina looked, I'm just going to say it, better without Cam Newton last week.
A lot better, honestly.
They looked a lot better. Cam is definitely not right. I mean, he was never the most accurate anyway, but I watched him week 2 just missing wide open receivers. He was throwing behind Curtis Samuel all game long.
Yeah.
We'll see if it was a flash in the pan for Kyle Allen, but they looked a lot more efficient.
It's true. Cam, you can tell he's just not right. He's not said. I think it said so much on that, the last play of the game, 4th down. Normally they would give it to Cam and say, you're 6'5", 260, go up the middle and get that touchdown and get the win. They gave it to McCaffrey on an end around because they just don't trust his shoulder, and I think that's very telling. So I think they need to do that young kid a favor, run the ball with Christian McCaffrey because the dude's a beast.
Yeah.
So underrated. You need to build around him, and this guy, he can make plays. They have the weapons, DJ Moore and Samuel. So
And Greg Olson,
Old
looks
Man River,
as healthy as ever. Yeah.
Yeah, he's look good.
I mean, I think a lot of that is due to the abuse that Cam's body has taken over the years. All of the running, all of the hits.
Mm-hmm.
He is arguably the most athletic quarterback in the league. But, he's been around for a while, and he hasn't exactly played with caution in previous years, especially that Super Bowl year. But let me ask you guys this then. Let's say Cam misses 2 more games, Kyle Allen wins both. Cam comes back. Who you starting?
I think it'll be like a Peyton Manning situation a few years ago. You remember that when he went down with the injury and they brought in Osweiler for the rest of the season and just said Peyton was hurt. So I don't think it'll be something like that. If Kyle Allen keeps balling out, maybe say Cam's still recovering and see how he does towards the end of the season, and maybe if they're in the hunt or a playoff spot or something, then they'll switch. But I'm not too sure. I have to see more from him.
So I'm not expecting him to win the next 2 at Houston and then against the Jags, and Minshew is the man. So we'll see what happens. We'll also see when and if Cam comes back. But it was very impressive week 3, in my opinion.
he's much better dressed as well. I just want to point that out.
Speaking of much better dressed, we are going to go to Gardner Minshew. And I am very biased with this man, so I will let you 2 talk about him.
You can start it, Gurtis.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm impressed. He's a 6th round draft. No, was he undrafted or
I think 6th round.
6th round draft pick. Out of Washington State. He's definitely filling the shoes for Nick Foles. He's definitely moving the chains. I think he's being a little bit overblown as far as
Hater.
the cult hero.
Hater.
I don't like mustaches. I cannot lie.
Hater. Because you can't grow one.
You know what, G? I don't want to hear it because that has nothing. Be that as it may, he looks good. He looks productive. He's moving the ball. He's mobile. He plays with moxie. I like the way he plays. I think the area he needs to get better is 3rd down. Like I was saying on that Thursday night game, he wasn't good on 3rd down, and he let the Titans hang around. But luckily, their defense was balling, and the Titans' offense was not. So better on 3rd down, but he's good right now, and I want to see more of him.
Yeah.
You guys are
So
underselling him. He's the GOAT, and he's going to go undefeated the rest of the way.
That's exactly what I'm saying. He's the GOAT. I am so upset that I have to deal with this man in my division for the next how many years. 'Cause he is awesome. He is so cool. So I actually watched him last year a lot at Washington State because I'm a pretty big college guy. And basically the way I would describe him was he's Baker Mayfield but without all the talent. But honestly, right now he looks a lot better than Baker Mayfield, so I can't even use that analogy anymore. But I think he's looked awesome. His game's fun too to watch. I think that's exactly what Jacksonville needs. And they don't need a Patrick Mahomes on that team. Also, they have one of the best defenses in the league. They just need a guy who's not going to be Blake Bortles, basically, just someone who's not going to come in and turn the ball over 4 times a game. So I'm on the Gardner Minshew train.
All right, pivot real quick. Does Jalen Ramsey remain on the team, or does he find a new team before the end of the season?
I think he gets traded.
I think he gets traded too. I mean, I understand the birth of a child, missing the game this week, which hasn't officially been ruled, but 2 nagging injuries, the flu, it all just seems very suspect all at once. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just one thing after the next until they get rid of him. And unless they keep winning solves a lot, and a lot of the frustration there that led to his disagreement with Coughlin and everything was the losing. If Minshew can pull out a win this week without Ramsey, maybe they revisit and do come to terms with an extension, but I'm not expecting that. I think he's gone.
It's looking less likely. I mean, the latest news I saw said that he still wants to be traded. Coughlin's a no-nonsense guy. We know that as Giants fans.
Ramsey is one of the glorified corners that loves nonsense.
It's his way or the highway,
Yeah.
and I think if they get the right offer, I think he'll be gone as well.
But they're not getting 2 first rounds. That's outrageous.
Probably not.
That's outrageous.
We couldn't even get it for Odell.
All right, so there's one more quarterback who we didn't touch on, one more new quarterback, and then I have a question for you boys, but let's get to Pittsburgh first and Mason Rudolph. Nick, we'll let you lead off.
Say that again. I was reading something about the game tonight.
No problem. Pittsburgh and Mason Rudolph.
Oh yeah, he didn't look great last game actually. But I like him a lot too. He was a good player in college. If you remember, he was part of that draft class with Darnold, Lamar, the top 5. He was basically the 6th best guy. So he was the guy after all those first round guys to go. And I thought when it was his time to shine that he would be a stud, just because that offense is very player friendly, from a fantasy perspective and stuff like that. He's got a Pro Bowl running back to work with, a Pro Bowl wide receiver. So I was surprised that things didn't go out their way. So what are they? They're 0-3 now, right?
Yep.
They don't have a win yet?
Yep. But if ever there was a week to get right, it's home against the Bengals this week. And I really want to see them incorporate James Washington because they played together in college, right? So
They did, yeah.
I feel like the chemistry's there, and you can't really take the targets away from Juju because, like you said, Pro Bowl receiver. But I don't know. I feel like if he's more comfortable with James Washington, let him play to his strengths. Let him play to who he's comfortable throwing the ball to, even if it's not Juju right off the bat.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that team's just sort of in turmoil right now.
Yeah, it's everything right now. James Conner, he's been struggling. He hasn't hit the ground running like he did last year.
Literally.
They're not exactly. They're not. They're not. I was watching last game and they didn't air it out pretty much at all, with the exception of the late touchdown at the end, because that game was begging to be won. The 49ers had 4 turnovers, 3 in the first half, and they were just begging to lose that game, but the Steelers couldn't move the ball. They couldn't, every pass kind of looked like Eli, 2 yards downfield when they need 10, and, the Niners have a good defense. They're getting stops, so they need to keep the defense honest, stretch the field a little bit, at least take some shots to keep the defense honest. We'll see how that progresses.
If there is a silver lining in Pittsburgh, Devin Bush looks legit.
He does.
Yeah, he looks like a good player.
Yep. All right, so I have a question for you boys. What do these 3 teams have in common? Okay? Denver, Cincinnati, Washington.
0-3.
0-3. And what else do they have in common?
Cincinnati. I don't know.
Rookie quarterbacks waiting in the wings. So that leads to my question for you boys. Who are we going to see first, if any at all, this year? Ryan Finley, Dwayne Haskins, Drew Lock. Or do we see none of them this year?
Nick, I'll let you tackle that one.
I mean, I think you can see Haskins as soon as this week. I think they're talking about that already being a possibility with Keenum injured. I also think he's the best by far, so I would probably go with him. Locke has a chance too because he was another high pick, and I think Denver knows what they have in Joe Flacco. I think it could be time eventually to give him the ball. Andy Dalton's stats on paper actually have been pretty solid this year. I haven't watched too much of him though, and the team's 0-3, so I mean that's all that really matters. But I would definitely go in that order: Haskins, Locke, and then Finley. So basically their draft order.
So I've heard a lot of reports that there's a chance Haskins. I've heard the other end of it. There's a chance he doesn't play this year, and
Okay.
The Case Keenum injury can change that. But I've also heard Colt McCoy could step in for this week if Keenum doesn't play. So I'm thinking, because I would love to see Haskins versus Daniel Jones, but I'm not thinking it's going to happen this week. I'm thinking the next time we verse Washington, maybe. Drew Lock, we'll see. I mean, was it Elway's all about Joe Flacco for some reason? So I don't know. We'll see about that. He's sort of blinded and doesn't have a good opinion of quarterbacks apparently.
Not recently.
I'm gonna I guess play devil's advocate and go with Ryan Finley. He impressed the most out of the three of them in the preseason. The Bengals are 0-3 and not expected to really go anywhere. If Mason Rudolph pulls off the win this week and they're 0-4 and still without AJ Green, it's a little early. I don't think they make that switch this week or next week. But before the other two, I'd say so. Maybe mid-season if they're 1-6, 2-7. Why not? Because Finley impressed me at least a lot in the preseason, and I know he didn't have the pedigree of those other quarterbacks, but why not?
I just don't like his last name personally, but I don't know. It just sounds like Finley. Like I don't know, but point is,
WWE guy. Remember that guy, Finley?
Finley, yep.
Can tell a lot about a man by his last name. No,
Not wrong.
honestly, I think it's got to be Haskins really by default, but I don't think it should be this. A lot of Redskins fans are going to be clamoring for Haskins versus Jones because they've seen what Daniel Jones did last week, and they're saying, okay, that's what he did. Let's find out about our rookie. I don't think they should do it this week because I think they're so injured, especially along the offensive line. Trent Williams is injured again, and I don't think you want to throw Dwayne Haskins. He's not the most mobile guy. That was really the one knock on him in college. He's not very mobile. I think he might get killed behind that terrible offensive line. I don't want to risk it. I don't want to kill his confidence. I would wait a few more weeks. Let Case Keenum take the hits. He's a serviceable journeyman quarterback. He's not a superstar, but he can he can move the chains if they have no running game. 63. They have 63 yards of rushing for the year. That's insane. And that's not for the whole year, but that's Adrian Peterson has the most, 63 yards. That's telling. And I don't think you want to throw a rookie, kill his confidence, and have himself comparing himself to Daniel Jones and be like, oh, why can't I be doing that right now? So we'll see how it progresses, but I think Jay Gruden has to save his job eventually. Mid-season, I think he'll throw him in, but not right now.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't think he's ready now, and he might not be ready mid-season, but like you said, the coach is definitely on the hot seat there. So, kind of like Jason Garrett in Dallas, but they're now 3-0, so I'm sure he is. That seat has cooled down a bit. Let me ask you, boys, because I have some reservations about it, but I feel like the general public doesn't. Is Lamar Jackson and this Baltimore team, are they for real? They stomped Miami, but everyone has stomped Miami. They beat Arizona, who's without Patrick Peterson, and just not a very good team. And I know at the end of the game they lost by 5 to the Chiefs on the road, but I don't know.
It was a blowout most of the
exactly.
game. Yeah, so I think Kansas City and the Patriots are definitely in that upper class. No one's even close to them, but
Yeah.
I do think the Ravens are probably in that second tier somewhere.
Along with like.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Lamar as a passer just yet. I know he lit it up for the first 2 weeks, but I still need to see more out of him when teams take away the run and force him to pass. So I do think they're without a doubt the best team in the division. That's pretty obvious by their record. I don't think that was going to be the case before the year. I thought they'd get figured out pretty easy. But I have been impressed with Lamar so far. But I'm definitely going to hold back a little bit on him compared to everyone else.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. They're not in that elite class, like you said. That's for New England, Kansas City. Everyone else is behind them. I think they're in, like you said, the second tier, with the Indies, with the Clevelands if they can get that ship righted, with the Rams, in that category. I don't think they're elite because, like you said, I want to see more of Lamar Jackson. I was very impressed the first couple of weeks. Didn't look so accurate last week. So we'll have to monitor that, but they have the solid defense. They got a nice running game with Mark Ingram, so they're for real. I wouldn't put them in that elite category.
Yeah, that defense lost a few pieces, but they didn't take as big a step back as I thought they were going to. Lamar Jackson could be one of those guys where he just beats on those teams that he should beat on, and then is mediocre after that, like a more athletic and mobile Kirk Cousins. I don't know if that's a fair comparison, but Kirk Cousins beats on the teams he should usually, and then deer in headlights in prime time or against playoff teams. So, but we'll see. Just gonna pat myself on the back, and it's way too early for this. But last year, before the NFL draft, I said that I thought the best quarterback out of all of them was going to be Josh Allen. And it's way too early, and I stood pretty much alone there, but and I know the Bills have versed 3 below-average teams in the Jets, the Giants, and the Bengals, and they have a very good defense. But unlike Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, who hasn't really played, Josh Allen looks like he's progressed pretty well.
As a running back, I don't know about as a quarterback. I definitely think he is good. He's got a good arm. I haven't really seen him hit on too many of those deep balls that he throws.
Not yet.
But as a running back, he's probably a top 15 running back in the league. That's all he does, it seems, every single time I watch him play. So I definitely need to see more out of him. But he has looked good this year. And again, they're 3-0, and that's really the only thing that matters.
I think that changes this week against the Patriots, but
yeah, that's what happens when you play against a Bill Belichick defense. You got Stephon Gilmore. He'll take John Brown out of the game.
Yep.
He'll take your running. He'll take Frank. He always takes away what you do best. So I think.
Well, you said John Brown. Is that what they do best? Because
I think what they do best is play solid defense. Pound the ball, Frank Gore. But John Brown is a legit deep threat, and we know. I'm not a huge fan of Josh Allen like you are, but he's got a hell of an arm. I'll give him that. He's got a cannon, so he can hit John Brown on those long go routes. I think his accuracy needs to improve. He's almost like Cam in that way. He's big, he's athletic, he can extend plays, he can run.
Good comparison.
But his accuracy needs to improve, and that's why. If I had to take a quarterback from that class right now, it would be Baker. But that's, we're still, it's year 2, so anything can happen.
But Baker and Darnold were assumed to be the most polished and NFL ready at the time. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson
small school
were more projects. Lamar due to his size, and Josh Allen due to his accuracy issues, as he said.
And Lamar Jackson. I keep forgetting he's in that draft class.
Yep.
Yeah, he went 32. He went through the last pick.
So I just want to touch on one last thing before we close up shop, because Thursday Night Football will be kicking off in 4 minutes. And I don't want to talk about this too long because it's like beating a dead horse and it's not really football related, but Antonio Brown was probably the other biggest topic over the last month. What are your opinions, and do you think he plays again this year?
Who wants to tackle first? Go ahead, Nick. I see you eager.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he'll play eventually. I don't know about this year, though. He's been off the chain. I mean, I saw him today getting into a fight with Eric Weddle, I think it was, Golden Tate or something online. I don't know. He just re-enrolled in school, so that guy's a mess. Of course, all this happened 2 hours after I traded for him in our Dynasty League, something like that.
Yeah, and you almost traded for... I have him on my bench in our 20-team work league, and I should have taken your offer for him.
Oh, I did offer you something good, too.
Yeah, you offered me Sammy Watkins and Phillip Lindsay, and I said, no, he's back. Look at what he did in week 2. And then... Yeah.
Dude, you think talent wins out, man. And he's so talented. He's so good. He just has to be half as crazy as he is, and he'd be leading the league in touchdowns right now.
He's his own worst enemy, and I can't see as a team signing him in the middle of this cloud. Something needs to happen with his legal case. Because right now, who knows what will happen with that. There's an investigation ongoing, and if I were a team, I wouldn't even think about it unless I know that he's going to be there.
Yeah, there's a chance, even if someone does take that chance on him, that he gets suspended.
Could be on the commissioner's exempt list. Yep. We have no idea what could happen.
So I would like to just mention Eric Weddle's a straight-up savage, by the way.
Yeah, that was funny.
So, for those of you that didn't see it, AB tweeted, "The game need me. I'm like test answers." And Golden Tate, that's where you got Tate from, said, "What?" And then Eric Weddle said, "Def don't." And then some guy, Fantasy Fred, pretty much said that Eric Weddle can't guard him, and Weddle comes out and goes, "Don't need to, isn't on a team." Like, boom, roasted. Sit back down and prepare for your midterms.
Best ability is availability, and he's not available.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but it's true. I would like to see him get right in the head and, come out, make a humble, sincere apology, and get given another chance mid-season for someone other than the Patriots. But I agree with you guys. I wouldn't expect it this year. I don't think he's coming back. Not to touch on fantasy, if you have him, I feel like you can't drop him. And you really can't get anything through a trade for him. Like, you just have to let that bench spot waste away, unfortunately. Maybe you're a braver soul than I, but he's too talented to
always
just
fantasy implication.
Yep. But no, I agree with you guys. I don't think he comes back this year. Maybe next year or 2 from now, but I think he's focused on school. Billy Madison.
Or Twitter, whatever.
Or Twitter, yes. Or Twitter. Or insert inappropriate joke here.
Like Herm Edwards always says, don't click send, don't click send.
Alright, anything else you guys want to touch on real quick?
Nah, I think I'm good. Kickoff's about to go down.
Thoughts about this game? Pick a winner real quick.
I'll go first. Green Bay. Who?
Yeah, I think Green Bay will win to the Packers. Their defense is for real, man. I think they might have the second best defense in the league, honestly, besides the Bears. It's only a matter of time before Rodgers starts putting it together. So yeah, I have them tonight too.
Yeah,
Philadelphia's been awful this year.
I'd say this is the type of game where they can really unleash Rodgers. Philly's corners can't cover anyone. They're not quite as bad as the Giants, but you can throw on Philly. You can throw easily on Philly, and Philly's got a decent run defense. Green Bay, I know, wants to run the ball, and they have run the ball more, but I think this game's going to be a shootout. And in a shootout, give me the team with the better quarterback, Green Bay, the better defense, Green Bay.
At home.
At home, Green Bay. You agree?
Make it unanimous.
Yep.
Green Bay at home. Thursday night defenses tend to struggle, especially Phillies lately. Carson Wentz hasn't looked like he has. He's looked a little off.
He's no Gardner Minshew.
A lot of that is injury. That's very true. We all can't be Gardner Minshew, but we shall see. I'll take Green Bay at home.
One last question. I guess let's each pick an upset. And
of this week 3?
For
of
this
4,
week.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, for week 4, pick an upset and a brief why. And I guess I'll go first. And I'm going to backtrack from what I said earlier. Not expecting these, but I'm going to backtrack and say Buffalo. Josh Allen's for real. No. At home, hostile environment, Bills Mafia. Let's go. I don't know. Frank Gore and Singletary, which they have the running backs. They have the defense, which they had last year, and then they added out Ed Oliver. Josh Allen is not Tom Brady, but I think that game's a lot closer than people are expecting, a lot lower scoring than people are expecting because you've got 2 very good defenses there. And just give me the younger team that is not overlooking the matchup. They had this one circled on that calendar.
Trap game.
Trap game. Exactly, trap game. Divisional game. So yeah, give me Buffalo 28-24. Lower scoring than many expect.
Interesting.
So that's what I'm gonna say, and that's more so because I don't think there's gonna be many upsets this week, but that's what I'm going with. Curtis?
I'll take Tennessee over Atlanta. Atlanta has been they remind me of the Browns. They're so undisciplined. They keep finding ways to beat themselves. Their offense has no consistency.
They can't run the ball.
Devontae Freeman's not really getting much done. They just look completely out of sync. Tennessee quietly has a very nice defense. I know they're on the road, but if Marcus Mariota can do something, I think Derrick Henry can break a few runs, and I'll take Tennessee on the road.
All right, fair. I will go with the Panthers over the Texans. I'm riding the Kyle Allen train. I think I'll keep it up at least one more week. Texans don't have a great secondary. You can expose that. They still got a good front seven. But on the other side, their offensive line has looked better in recent weeks, but it's still not great. And the Panthers have always had a good front. So I think they're going to pressure Watson all day long, and I think it'll be a fairly high-scoring game. I'll go 31-28 Panthers.
Shootout.
All right, good picks.
All right, good stuff, boys. I will get this uploaded sometime tomorrow. Enjoy your Thursday night football. Good luck with your lineups, except for you two, because I actually need some help this year. Apparently, my teams are not off to a hot start, and I believe I'm versing you in one league, Nick. So
you are the Dynasty League, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the reigning champ, and I'm 0-3, so I desperately need a win there. But yeah, best of luck to everybody else, and we will try to see you next week.
Good show. Let's get out of here and watch some football.
Let's watch it.